Visualize this scenario. You are a 17-year-old with little to no online platform, with a past of being edgy and borderline degenerate and your sense of humor amongst friends. One day, you awake, and a scorned duo of ex-friends have accused you of grooming them into this mutually consensual, degenerate material. In this, you're actually pretty lucky for the terrible scenario that you're in, because you're being accused of these illicit things by the most notorious false accusers in the entire art community, Junidrawz and Yummicactus. Junidrawz, born August 18, 2009, is an art commentary personality with a vast history of different content subjects with a general track record of success analytically. Of course, not is all that meets the eye in that regard, but Juni acted as a moral crusader in his content and was able to amass 30,000 subscribers throughout his time on YouTube. Despite being a rather run-of-the-mill art commentary channel, his most successful or noteworthy exposés consist of videos like Cinnamon Barf, the TikToker who exploits his fanbase, Pumpkin Gentleman is a Mess, The Psycho Cuties Iceberg Explained, and many others of a similar nature. Ranging from general commentary on different subjects to direct hit pieces targeted at other content creators or online figures. In recent memory, Juni is remembered for his contributions in the CUPIDITE situation, acting as one of the primary figures in that situation, for better or likely for worse. The CUPIDITE situation will be briefly mentioned throughout this video, however not fully elaborated on, as that situation is deserving of and likely will be made into a video of its own right in due time. In the meantime, resources should be linked in the description for those who wish to do their own research. Juni's content dates back to about a year ago, which in terms of commentary isn't a crazy long period of experience, which may contribute to the rather poor quality of his videos. The actual visual and audio quality of his content is fine and actually standard for the art commentary scene. However, the contents of these videos are a different story entirely. Juni finds it difficult to complete one of the most important aspects of levying allegations in commentary content in general, that being the idea of allegations and unsubstantiated claims being treated as such. This is also applicable for the other subject of this video. Yummicactus, known as Yummy, has content spanning back around the same time as Juni. However, he began with solely art and animation content. As he transitioned into a more commentary-esque style of content in April of 2025, he maintained the conceptual basis of his channel by commenting on situations that pertain to disturbing or degenerate art, artists, and content creators in the same vein as Juni and general art concepts as a whole. Most notably, Yummy seems to pride himself on his understanding of history and how it pertains to modern art with the concept of original characters. Strangely enough, there's actually a decent amount of artists who draw characters with historical ideologies baked into their design and writing. Yummy is a moral crusader in this regard, for lack of any better term, as he is adamant on the how in the creation of these original characters. These two creators would collaborate based upon their preconceived relationship. Yummy made Juni's VTuber model, they collaborated on the Cinnamon Barf situation, the CUPIDITE situation most notably, and generally acted as two pillars of the art commentary community in their own respects. With a positive track record and a supportive community despite all the controversy they found themselves covering, it was far too good to be true, and as you'll soon learn, there was much more than meets the eye. Jimbo Jimmy123 is a TikTok animator that garnered popularity through his Newgrounds Flash-esque animation videos from 2023 to 2024. In the new year of 2025, a document was released on Jimbo, where he states his affinity for minors. Jimbo would even take a picture of a real-life 9 to 10-year-old in one of his tuition classes, noting his drawing. Now, obviously, at first glance, it would lead you to believe that he's a freak or pedophile, even if the majority of these comments were off-putting, edgy jokes. That being without the information that Jimbo is 15 years old himself. Although extremely concerning, off-putting, and certainly criticizable, Jimbo is not a pedophile or a groomer, unlike Yummicactus would want you to believe. Or maybe not how he'd want you to believe, it's a little difficult to tell. With Jimbo Likes Little Kids, Yummy makes definitively one of the worst, most poorly toned commentary videos regarding an alleged /groomer situation ever made. The video is long gone now, but in it, Yummy makes tons of jokes while levying serious allegations of grooming and pedophilia towards a 15-year-old with nowhere near enough evidence to back it up, treating it as fact. In one instance, after accusing Jimbo of abusing a cat, he feels the need to make a joke regarding the matter. Now, while I believe the allegations against Jimbo are severely blown out of proportion, at the time many, including Yummy, believed them to be true and Jimbo to be a danger to other minors in a manner. Yummy even doubles down in a community post after the fact, to much dismay. This haphazard handling of severe and serious allegations, treating them as fact, and doing poor reporting and research would be a pattern of behavior seen from not only Yummy, but also Juni. In the video, Does Problematic Equal Good Artist? The Internet's Ignorance Problem, posted by Juni, at around the 1 minute and 50-second mark, Juni references a creator known as Charlie Xanax. Despite Juni's coverage, it should be noted that Charlie didn't do much wrong in his controversy. The worst thing Charlie did was draw art that was intended to be private as a coping mechanism. If you think that a minor drawing skibbity toilet C911 art is a real problem or rape jokes, then, well, research the CUPIDITE situation. It'll open your eyes. Juni seems to be overly critical of a minor for doing, all things considered, some pretty standard or at worst concerning things a minor would do. This morally righteous and justice-driven ideology would be consistent throughout all of his videos moving forward. Doma, also known as Whelp Go By, and a multitude of other aliases, is a 16-year-old artist that garnered popularity off her Dandy's World animations on TikTok and YouTube. Doma is emblematic of a more severe Sashley-like figure in said community, as her controversies range back to allegations from when she was 11 years old. The art community will truly label anything as trust me, that is foreshadowing. On October 5th, 2024, Juni would upload a video called The Doma Iceberg Explained, aiming to cohesively cover all of the controversy surrounding the artist from the Doma files. While majority of things covered in this document are deplorable in nature, these allegations are being made about a then at the time 13 to 14-year-old for edgy and concerning behavior, instead of handling the situation with care, reporting it to the authorities, or even explaining to this very clearly troubled individual why the thing she's doing is wrong. A Google document seemed to be the best option for her detractors. The case against Doma appears to be very antagonistic, with some things blown out of proportion and the worst claims about her being untrue or unsubstantiated, without factoring in that majority is just immature and vastly inappropriate comments made by a 13 to 14-year-old. This brings us to the most notorious situation that both Juni and Yummy were involved in, the CUPIDITE situation. I won't retell the entire story, as it will be covered in a video of its own. However, Yummy and Juni made some key errors that represent their online behavior and general conduct that I believe are important to note that represent a pattern of behavior, and ultimately, this situation would be the beginning of the end for our two protagonists. After the release of the Jimbo Jimmy 123 video, Daisy appeared to share similar sentiments as the rest of the community, leaving some mean-spirited but relatively tame jabs under Yummy and Juni's community posts. Their responses were understandably frustrated, and soon after, serious behind-the-scenes accusations emerged, most notably claims that CUPIDITE had shared CSAM and engaged in OCSC. Yummy attempted to clarify matters by contacting Daisy directly, but a miscommunication seemingly occurred, resulting in the February 2025 video, CUPIDITE What the Hell?, where two separate situations were conflated into one, ultimately damaging the credibility of the accusers, the accused, and the allegations themselves. Despite its inaccuracies, this video acted as the backbone of claims for roughly 6 months. After its removal in July, there were no accessible sources supporting these severe allegations for about 2 months' time, demonstrating how badly this situation was mishandled. Daisy later released a response video to debunk and clarify the claims, followed by Yummy's April 18th upload, which briefly reasserted the distribution and possession allegations without any evidence attached, before shifting focus for the most of its runtime to Daisy's bigotry and from July to October, this remained the only public source of information on Daisy and these claims in particular. In October, tensions peaked with the release of a collaborative document by Junidrawz, Yummicactus, and other co-writers, titled The Daisy Files, which compiled a wide array of accusations, including multiple counts of possession/distribution, as well as claims of zoophilia, anti-Semitism, and lolicon. In November and December, Daisy responded, swaying the entire community who once lambasted him to his side. In doing so, Daisy felt comfortable enough to expose information of his own that he had been provided with regarding Juni and Yummy. In the late writings of the document titled Response, in a section titled Hypocrisy and Malice, CUPIDITE links to a document titled Juni/Yummy Expose. This document exposes a lot of the disturbing things that Juni and Yummy got up to behind the scenes from the early months of 2025 up until October of the same year. It's important to note that these messages took place while Juni was 15 to 16 and while Yummy was 16 to 17. And also while they were both making videos criticizing others for consuming snuff/content, necrophilia, not and more. All of those things are something that Juni and Yummy would indulge in behind the scenes. We begin said document with a context piece that reads as so. Trigger warning, sensitive topics. Basically, from all the worst things they both did, Yummy is into necrophilia, like straight up. He will send IRL gore and talk about it with us on call. Junie, I don't know if he's into it as much, but is still a participant of that behavior. They are both into rape, not CNC. They promote self-harm and brag about cutting each other. Not only did they promote self-harm, they forced Yellow to relapse and send them his self-harm. They both tried to force him to become a necrophile when he expressed he wasn't into that. They called him boring and hung out with him less. And they are both heavy neo, either as a joke or to be edgy. Yummy and Junie have drawn themselves in uniforms multiple times. The worst part is the fact that they are aware of all of these behaviors and they don't want/try to stop it. They've expressed that they think it's funny how they can post videos against the same behaviors they do. They find it funny how they can be hypocritical and ruin other people's lives, especially since they are friends with most creators before they make videos on them. They were friends with Cinnamon Barf, Doma, and CUPIDITE before starting drama. The thing that really bothers me is the fact that we've tried to help them, and tried to give them advice. They express remorse but don't try to change, so after battling with them for a while, we all kinda gave up and stopped being close with them. As we advance, we are met with a collage of art from Junie and Yummy. Art of Junie and Yummy's characters with the necrophilia flag color palette, Yummy's original character having intercourse with Junie's original character's decapitated head, Yummy's original character engaging in some sexual acts with Junie's original character's corpse, Junie's character with a Jimbo's decapitated head, and Yummy drawing his original character with a reference to a real-life case caught on camera, Miss Pac-Man, in which the victim's face was cut open in an extremely disturbing homicide, resembling the character of Pac-Man. I do not even need to state how concerning all of these things are. Despite being moral crusaders on the topics of both Junie and Yummy have drawn their characters as Nazis or in Nazi uniforms, something that they made out to be totally morally reprehensible. All of this content occurred amongst a friend group of around 4 people in total, Junie, Yummy, and 2 others that are initially kept anonymous. Referred to as Yellow in this document, evidence shows that Yummy attempted to sway this individual into becoming a necrophile, and that he and Junie glamorized the idea of self to him and caused him to relapse. The document then delves into messages regarding Junie and Yummy's personal relationship. Notably, Junie claims he manipulated Yummy into paraphilias as he was vulnerable. All this behavior is deplorable and indicative of Junie and Yummy's true nature. They LARP as morally righteous before throwing these same morals out the window in the face of private interaction. At this point, some art or comments could have been shaken off as jokes or just heavily inappropriate. They were minors after all, so some charity should be given. However, it is concerning that 2 creators with over a year each of criticizing and lambasting people who commit actions equal to, or even in some cases, lesser than the things they do behind closed doors, either do not see their own wrongdoings or do not care to see them. Either way, it is an indictment of character, demonstrating that these 2 are unreliable narrators at best. At this point in time, the hope was for Junie and Yummy to get off the internet, living out their lives as normal teenagers, and to stop engaging with this sort of content and commentary as a whole. So, to end off this video in a positive light, in response to this situation, as any accountable creator would, Junidrawz claimed that he and Yummy were groomed into these behaviors by an individual that is also a minor and doesn't have any significant platform or power over them. Wait, what? Who put this in my script? The majority of context used in this section is included in various documents linked in the description of this very video, some coming from the accused and company themselves. Meet Dippy Stick, known online as Dippy. Dippy is an artist that initially met Junie through Cinnamon Barf's Discord server. Junie would soon introduce Dippy to Yummy, where they grew closer and bonded over things like Alfred's Playhouse. Oh, great, awesome, this is back on my channel again. But also things like video games and art in general. As Junie recounts, both him and Yummy loved Dippy and were very attached to him. This is where Junie would claim all imagery from the previous section of this video that was exposed online from him and Yummy were a result of the grooming that was taking place by Dippy. Oh, yeah, did I forget to mention that Dippy is 17 years old, the same age as Yummy and only a year older than Junie. Now, do not be dissuaded yet, dear viewer, let's hear Junie out. Certainly, for such a hefty claim, he would provide mountains of evidence. Haha, if only it were that simple. Posted on the 16th of November, I Was Groomed by My Best Friend is a video where Junie recounts his experience with his alleged groomer in Dippy. To spare you all the pain of listening through this entire mess of an allegation, I will summarize places that are noteworthy or have evidence, as few and far in between as that may be. To preface, Junie mentions Dippy's age a total of 1 time in this entire video. The primary definition of grooming is formulating a relationship, trust, and a general connection with a child or young person for the purpose of sexual abuse/exploitation. Key factors can include, but aren't limited to, isolation, desensitization to materials not yet seen by the victim, or using manipulative tactics such as guilt tripping, blackmail, or threats. It will be made clear that none of these factors apply to Dippy in the slightest, and there were absolutely zero power dynamics in their friendship in a quantitative metric. Now obviously, this is not the only way that somebody can be groomed, but I don't believe that Dippy's situation falls under this standardized definition, or any other one for that matter. Junie begins the video with our predetermined backstory, before transitioning over to topics in the beginning of what Junie, Yummy, and I like to call Necrophiles Anonymous. In the group chat Elite Chuds I Know, Junie claims that Dippy had admitted to being very edgy before claiming that Dippy encouraged the two to have sexual discussions. The most evidence shown for these claims is a game of Never Have I Ever and general discussion of sexual topics. Junie claims that he and Yummy had expressed their CSA experiences and go on to claim that Dippy had encouraged them to make jokes about rape and self.
We were encouraged to talk about our kinks around Dippy and even answered extensive questions about our life that he would send us on VCs. Me and my boyfriend are both victims of and exploitation, and we had a lot of trauma over this that we had voiced to Dippy. And in response, Dippy would encourage us to make jokes and tell him about our kinks and fetishes surrounding our sexual assault trauma. We would also talk about our kinks and be asked to go into detail on them by him. Dippy was the first person me and my boyfriend had met that didn't voice against those things, and we just internalized that everything was okay because he was our closest friend. And when requested, I had even drawn NSFW and suggestive art of my characters for him when asked.
The latter is questionable. If Dippy had been the originator of self-harm content, why would he not be in the self-harm GC upon its creation? The screenshot flashed briefly on screen is an indecipherable screenshot with a list of paraphilias and seems to have nothing to do with the claim at hand. He then claims that Dippy normalized these topics to him and Yummy. These claims regarding Dippy indoctrinating Junie and Yummy into self-harm seem to be entirely false. There is a fair amount. This is a post-editing salty here. This was shoehorned in after a few days of this video being completed because Dippy actually came across some screenshots that were in prior documents and made the connection that he never really did actually introduce the idea of necrophilia to these two prior. It's already an allegation that Junie made inside of his I was groomed by my best friend video, but it's also an allegation made later down the line in a certain confrontation group chat that you will see further in this video. The initial sharing of the gore links took place on June 26th. This happened in a server raid from one of Dippy's servers, and he shared these very same links with Junie. However, what's notable is on the 29th, private DMs between Junie and Yummy show Junie talking about indoctrinating him into very terrible habits and paraphilias, and a message from the 3rd of June actually shows Junie and Yummy talking about violating corpses, particularly Junie talking about violating Yummy's corpse. Now it's clear, this section, very shoehorned in, very last minute section here, but this is very notable evidence because it debunks one of the main narratives that Junie tried to peddle throughout this entire situation. A lot of evidence, at least more than Junie is willing to share, that proves that Junie and Yummy were engaging in these activities and these jokes prior to or unprompted towards Dippy. Junie claims that Dippy requested not safe for work art of his original characters, and then shows a screenshot where Dippy refers to the drawings as tough.
We began making jokes about Anal Bones, the artist, and this trend making a random character and slapping a stupid flag on it to make a quote edgy OC. Yummy ended up making a satirical necrosona to poke fun at how stupid and corny it was to do so. He sent it to Dippy, and Dippy told him how fire it was, even mentioning how he should post it and then delete it. When he showed it to me, I mentioned how the colors were arguably very artistically pleasing to work with, and eventually Yummy would be encouraged by Dippy to make more harmless art like this and made an inside joke out of Necro Yummy. At the time, we had been seeing people making fun of the same stuff all over TikTok. Dippy would make fun of Anal Bones in our DMs, so we didn't think anything was weird.
Junie then goes on to claim that the necrophilia OCs were merely jokes due to the Anal Bones drama that was occurring at that time. Ironically enough, Junie would criticize Anal Bones for doing this exact same thing. He then claims that in a horror game challenge, in which when you lost, you would have to choose from 5 different prompts decided by the others to draw, Dippy requested not safe for work necrophilia art of Junie and Yummy.
And everything came to a head when we played this tally mark drawing game where we would play a horror game, and every 5 times we got scared, we were giving a drawn punishment by the other person. And when we were coming up with prompt ideas, Dippy had come up with the idea to force Yummy to draw necrophilic NSFW of me and him, and send it to him. 5 out of his 6 prompts given to Yummy were about necrophilia. We had been making satire jokes about Necro and making fun of edgy Newgrounds series like Necro Jimbo, but we never had made any necrophilia art. And even then, we just convinced ourselves it was just a joke when Dippy asked. Most of the list prompts that Dippy made were just asking for NSFW or suggestive art of me and Yummy. And compared to the lists we were given to Dippy, Dippy's prompts were obvious jokes and were much more calm, which is what we thought the game was supposed to be. The worst prompt I was given was to draw my OC in an SS uniform, solely because I'm Jewish and it is the thing that would make me most uncomfortable, aka a better punishment.
Granted, Junie provides some pretty decent evidence for this claim, yet leaves out where he eggs on the idea, seemingly oddly excited about it despite how he framed it in the video. Regardless, it is very degenerate on Dippy's end to prompt that sort of content. However, being edgy, or a degen, or a weirdo at one point in history does not make you a groomer, and these types of actions are things that Dippy has taken accountability for twofold. There is more than enough evidence that, unlike Yummy, and possibly even Junie, Dippy has no interest in outside of humor. And frankly, there is just as much evidence that both Junie and Yummy participated in these activities not only of their own volition, but also entirely unprompted to do so. Junie also claims that the SS uniform drawing was also one of these prompts. To that, there is no evidence for this claim, and with the rest of the prompts that Dippy allegedly requested, the simple answer to anything that made you uncomfortable would have simply been a no. Junie provides these claims in the beginning of the video without establishing any one of the factors of grooming, and pretends as if the context as to how Dippy would be taking advantage of him and Yummy was already explained. The largest age gap is a year, and you have a platform of 30,000 subscribers. Regrettably, I hate to be this harsh, but is it really that hard to say, no, you're weird, and utilize the platform in which you morally crusade about the exact same things on to expose this degenerate perversion? It certainly is that difficult when you and your partner voluntarily participated in this edginess and degeneracy, and often did it unprompted. Junie then alleges that Dippy linked multiple forums, sites, and videos of gore content, in which he claims he clicked on one and clicked off upon seeing a mutilated face. Dippy continued to send more.
Dippy's close friends server was, for a lack of a better term, just filled with mentally ill people of all ages, including adults, with one of the members, Brandon, suffering from schizophrenia and suicidal ideation surrounding his psychosis. Me and Brandon got along really well, and I talked to him a lot because we both had hallucinations, and I had never met another person who had similar issues. Our conversations derailed quickly, and he had sent me his Twitter account to look through, and I got very used to Brandon being around. Dippy had always encouraged me to talk about and self-harm and that stuff, and things escalated into him telling me about gore sites. We were on call when Dippy abruptly left before texting me that he found a gore site and wanted to see if it was real, and that he watched a snuff film on it. I was obviously very concerned and confused before Dippy started graphically detailing to me what happened in the video. He told me it contained real necrophilia. He sent me the link before sending me the forum site he used to find it. I was terrified and grossed out to look at any of the videos he had sent me, especially that one, because it was just so awful, so I just clicked the forum link out of curiosity. I looked at a few images like he told me before I saw someone's mutilated face and clicked off. He told me the photo I saw was from a notorious gore video and I didn't get the reference. He sent me more sites and talked about gore like it was exciting and not really a big deal, which made me feel weird, but I just went along with whatever. I couldn't access the other sites he sent me because my devices have a 13+ restriction on them. He told me my boyfriend could just stream them to me, but in reality, Dippy would just end up streaming us both gore because we were both too scared to watch it or click on any of the links. He would send me screenshots from gore videos and tell me what happened in them. He would send me and my boyfriend gore links as GIFs and told me I should show the stuff he had sent to me to my boyfriend too.
Now, what Junie doesn't show in their DMs is the full conversation, in which he laughs, complains about it being restricted, and says he needs unrestricted links, expresses Yummy's excitement, and asks Dippy if he should share the infamous Miss Pac-Man video with their friend. Now, suffice it to say, nobody in these conversations are above the law. The infatuation and seemingly humorous nature in which they discuss gore is disgusting in nature and not condonable. That being said, to act as if Dippy was peddling this content to Junie and Yummy, with them being uncomfortable with it, or rather expressing that feeling, is an utter lie. Junie then shows himself asking Dippy to stop streaming gore in October of 2025, and then claims Dippy continued to do it afterwards.
I would end up confessing to Dippy that I couldn't watch gore with him or any of the stuff he had sent me after dark because it would cause me to have severe hallucinations and insomnia, and he would acknowledge this but never actually stopped.
Notably, this screenshot trips Junie up significantly in his storytelling, as he claims he began to distance himself from the group around when school started, so September, October, or November. Therefore, if he only asked Dippy to stop when Dippy claims in the message that he hasn't shared that content in months upon distancing himself, when would Dippy have had the time to continue sharing content when Junie asked him to stop? Simply put, he wouldn't have, as Junie points out that days after October 22nd, he and Yummy were kicked from every group chat and server. Moving on, Junie alleges that Dippy, who we will introduce in a moment, and co. were sending Junie's personal information, self-harm, and explicit images to their doxers and harassers.
We were worried that he had done something to himself, but in reality, Dippy, Brandon, and she had contacted the people who were doxing us to give them our information. They leaked videos and photos of me hurting myself, gave them my phone number, which they used to get my address, full name, and everything, and literally all of my information. They have also been talking now about how they have explicit photos of me from when I was 15 and how they have it on Google Drives.
Junie provides little to no evidence for this claim, and the parties accused vehemently deny it. It appears they were lied to by a third party regarding this claim. That being said, Junie still platformed these claims with zero evidence to back it up. These were the most noteworthy points of Junie's video. The remainder of the video is a segment in which Yummicactus makes their debut in this situation, with a very emotional tone and sobs breaking through the cracks. Yummy takes his time to actually take some form of accountability for his disturbing paraphilic art and fetish? Well, I do think his segment is longer than it needs to be and covers a lot of unimportant and sometimes untrue things. The first part of it demonstrates the first trace of self-awareness shown throughout the entire video. That being said, in terms of pure degeneracy, Yummy was a much worse offender than Junie. Therefore, if he were to come on and cry groomer after admitting to being turned on by gore content, people wouldn't exactly turn a blind eye. The majority of conclusions that have been drawn were made in hindsight, with further context, yet some were actually discernible from the video itself upon first watch. Which brings us to the response from Dippy and a user named. So in the initial recording and scripting process of this video, there was another user mentioned, and you can tell by their name being censored in a few of these parts. However, they have expressed that they do not want to be involved in this video, so I will oblige accordingly. However, let it be known that there is still an entire other situation where Junie and Yummy have done arguably worse things than Dippy ever did to them, to another person, and by their own definition would be groomers themselves. Obviously, I'm not going to levy grooming allegations on this platform. That's not what I'm going to do, because I don't agree with Junie and Yummy's definition of grooming, but just let it be known because this part is censored out of the video. Regarding Dippy yet again, he and have provided a multitude of screenshots that generally debunk the narrative that Junie attempted to push this entire video, so please allow a lightning round to ensue. Firstly, and arguably most importantly, this screenshot demonstrates Junie admitting that he didn't engage in these jokes and content until Yummy, rather than Dippy. I won't dive into the specifics of Junie and Yummy's relationship as it isn't really mine or anyone else's business, but it's pretty well known, self-admittedly from Junie, that their relationship is anything barring healthy. Dippy provided me a little bit of context on their dynamic, and it reads as follows. Do you think that Junie and Yummy are abusive to each other as the doc entails? Is there one who is more than the other, or are they both equally as bad for each other? I'm just curious as to your opinion. I truly believe they are bad for each other because they have said to me on numerous occasions that if the other broke up with them, they'd kill themselves, or how they always cut themselves for each other. But Junie did say in the recording how Yummy would blackmail him, and Yummy always did tell him to kill. So I do think Yummy is the more deranged one. Junie even also said in the recording that Yummy probably hates how he's trying to get better. It's okay, you didn't do anything. Tomorrow morning when he wakes up, he's gonna get so upset. And he might tell me I can't talk to you guys anymore. It's okay though, I understand why. I love you guys, but he's right. I'm not really the type to have friend groups since I do bad things. If we can't, that's okay. It was amazing being your friend if he forces you. You're genuinely amazing. I love you, Dippy. I probably won't disappear, but I might not be able to talk for a while, and that's okay because I love Yummy and he knows what's good for me. When I don't tell him things, bad things happen all the time, and he takes care of me. I'm sorry, don't hate me. I don't hate you, I promise. It's just that sounds really sad. It sounds abusive, but what do I know? I don't do relationship stuff. I love you, Junie. I'm okay. I know it's bad, but I don't know. He's always right, and if he's suspicious of people, he tells me not to talk to them, and that's why I haven't been talking in refugee lurkers or to you and Mason, but it's okay because he's really sweet. I love Yummy, I'd do anything for him. I don't know. He saved my life. I owe him everything I have. If he asks me to do something, I do it. No, he doesn't care about that. He loves you guys too. I think I did a lot more than him, but that's whatever. Nobody will spread anything about you because we only care about genuinely bad people. You guys aren't bad. You guys are so sweet and caring to each other, and even when you do bad things, it's okay because you have each other. I think that's really sweet, and I'm sorry for ruining that. I love you guys, and I'm crying right now because I don't want to leave, but I might have to, and I love you so much, and you're all so caring and sweet. I've never clipped or screenshotted a single thing you guys have said, and Yummy hasn't either, because you guys aren't bad creators weaponizing your platforms for harm or doing anything insane. You're just a group of friends who deserve nothing but the world, even if I'm not there to see it. Oh my god, stop, I'm crying. I love you guys so much. I don't want to go. I love you guys so much. Dippy, you changed my life, genuinely. I don't want to go anywhere. You've always been so sweet to me. Bro, I'm gonna get emotional. This is so sweet and sad. I love you so much. It's okay if it's unhealthy and bad. I've never loved someone this much, and I would never leave him. And if I did, he'd blackmail and expose me, lol. It's okay though, because I'd never want to leave anyways. He tells me that my close friends are against me and that he'll always be there for me and that he's the only one I can trust. I wish I could see what you see in him in that aspect, but this feels abusive and toxic. Of course I have no place to say on this, but I love you and I think you deserve better treatment than that. Loved ones don't make you feel isolated. I just care about you. It feels like Stockholm Syndrome. I don't know. He tells me I'm awful and mentally ill and a terrible person and that no one but him will ever be capable of loving me. But I do. I'd never leave him anyways. Gah, I wish I met you before I met Yummy. Maybe things would be different. I'm just telling you this stuff in case I feel like I'll never be able to unless I say something now, I guess. He's probably upset. I want to change too. It seems like this whole relationship in a way seems one-sided, even if you think you reciprocate. I understand he saved your life, but that doesn't mean he will always be the good person or the hero. I really wish we met way sooner. I feel so awful. Despite Junie and Yummy expressing their want to change their behavior and conduct, Junie was adamant on having Yummy added back to the friend server and remaining there himself. I feel really bad. Yummy misses everyone, and he feels really bad, and he thinks everyone hates him. I feel awful. Can you invite him back to Refugee Lurkers later? He's scared if he joins back, everyone's gonna hate him. He doesn't understand. I hate seeing him so sad. I feel so bad. I said such awful things about my sweet boyfriend, and now everyone thinks he treats me terribly and hates him, when in reality I didn't mean that stuff. I was just freaking out. I feel awful. He's so upset and miserable, and he feels betrayed by everyone, and he doesn't understand, and he keeps crying, and I can't take it. I just want him to be okay. I hate this. I just want him to be happy, sweet darling. He gives me the world and loves me so much. I have a fuck-ass freak out and ruin everything. Tell them it's my fault. I don't know. Tell them anything. Just make them blame me instead of him. He doesn't deserve this. I'm a piece of shit for this. I'm sorry, please. I don't know. You can send them what I sent you, but please delete the images and screen recordings you sent them. Please. I can't even explain. I know you don't believe me, but I'm such a piece of shit for saying all that last night. It's not true, and I don't mean it. And I feel sick to my stomach that I spoke so terribly about the person that literally loves me so much. Just tell them I lied. I just want things to be normal again. Everyone thinks Yummy did something when he didn't, all because my retarded self told you to tell them, and I don't know why I said that. I don't understand why I said that when it doesn't make sense and it isn't true. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I'm schizo posting in real life. I'm so sorry. In Junie's video, I was groomed by my best friend. He mentions that Dippy sent the Charlie Kirk assassination video, quote-unquote, unprompted to Necrophiles Anonymous. Conversely, Yummy was actually pleading with Dippy to send the video, admittedly along with "Send it here, Dippy. Dippy, send it. Please, please, please." This screenshot is made even more laughable due to the fact that outside of debunking a false allegation, it retrospectively demonstrates how facetious Yummy is willing to be to his audience and how he's willing to play moral police. If you're someone who's latched on to the Charlie Kirk incident and made content regarding it before a significant amount of information came out, I will take it that your views on it are performative and a chance for clout. This goes for both sides, as many people have used this and many other things as a means to push a narrative, any narrative, good, bad, or neutral. This is news, this is history, this is reality, this is not another internet drama to simply cover and profit off of angry discourse. We need to normalize waiting for official information to come out regarding these things. When you make content the second something happens, it is highly likely that you will misreport what happened. I'm fine with people expressing their opinions opinions, as everyone should be. You just need to be informed to have opinions. You cannot jump onto every small detail to make a new video, because new details plus evidence leads to new conclusions and new beliefs. I do not like Charlie Kirk. He was a dangerous man to my community and myself. He is responsible for a lot of hate, harassment, misinformation, and crimes against minority groups, and this should not be forgotten. This post is to say that YouTubers and TikTokers are not official news sources, and if you want to pretend to be, wait for the big leagues to do the work for you before you report on an incident. This is directed towards hundreds of people. I have seen numerous accounts of people spreading false information because of the people playing news reporter. Yummy's entire shtick of his channel is being knowledgeable regarding historically accurate and correct original characters, citing Junie to be a Jew, while meanwhile, Junie was drawing this of their supposed groomer. There are multiple instances of Yummy and Junie initiating sexual discussions with Dippy, despite Junie stating that it was one-sided in the way of Dippy bringing up these topics unannounced. For their privacy, the matters discussed in the screenshot are blurred, however, they are of a sexual nature and completely out of the blue. There are multiple instances of Junie asking Dippy and others to harass detractors and targets alike. Yummy talks about people as cash cows and that some are quote-unquote easy to cancel, and how should keep Yummy's age a secret, as people will use it against him. Finally, Junie states in a video on the topic of anal bones that drawing paraphile OCs, even if only the colors of the flag, is harmful. Of course, despite doing the exact same thing.
But I personally wouldn't be making any kind of paraphile OCs or NSFW content relating to minors or their sonas, regardless of whether they are recolors or not.
On the 20th of November, Dippy would create a group chat to confront Junie and Yummy on their conduct, where Junie and Yummy are both extremely apologetic and make some concerning admissions of guilt. Dippy told me you guys are trying to change and get better, and I'm really glad to hear that, but I just need to be honest because I think you should understand how things actually affected me. The things you said and encouraged me to do really messed me up. I fell back into a mindset that I hadn't been in for over a year. I started hurting myself again, getting into gore, and going down a path I thought I was done with, and I only realized when Dippy and Brandon talked to me about the next stuff. I want to be clear that that was never really me. That label came from being in a really dark place and being influenced by people I looked up to. It makes me sick now to even think about it. I threw up outside my school the other day because it just makes me feel so bad. It gives me anxiety and nightmares, and it's something I'll probably carry for a while. I'm not saying this to attack anyone, I just need you to understand that what you do to people matters. You can't drag others into harmful stuff and pretend it doesn't affect them. It does. It changed me in ways I'm still trying to fix. Guys, we don't have another GC or server besides one we've had for months for Future Living. I don't know why Refugee isn't active today, but please stop thinking we do. Dippy is telling me what's being said, and both of you are being guilt-trippy, saying you wanted to trust Dippy or something, which is weird to me because Dippy is the only reason I was able to be honest about how I felt. Dippy's the only reason anyone's being truthful about their feelings. I don't want to argue. I'm not trying to, I'm just saying we don't have a new GC or server. I think if you want to get better, you have to talk about it, because we're being completely truthful, and I feel like we also deserve nothing but the truth. I don't know how anyone can owe you the truth after you lied to us for so long. Of course we aren't going to trust you. Nobody even responded to Yummy's messages in this group chat half the time. Of course he feels scared of you guys, sorry. It was 3 weeks and nobody lied to you, I'm confused. I don't know what to say to most of that stuff, I'm not good at comforting people. This is exactly why I didn't want to speak up. Either not just because I was scared of the video thing. Yummy, please relax, but not in the mean way. Like, you've gone through so much this week and month, you need a break, everything will get figured out. I thought we were fixing it right now. You asked me on call to send you that, so I just started sending what I found. You sent those images unprompted, then sent the link, bro. You sent that unprompted. It was on call. Why would I ask you to send me stuff from a forum I never even knew existed? Because I screen shared it. You asked to see the link. You said send the link, and I did. And then I sent the site because you asked. No, do not tell me I'm lying because I vividly remember these calls. Why would I ask you to stream something if I didn't know it existed? Dude, what? What do you mean didn't know it existed? I did not use forum sites before I met you, let alone gore forums. Bro, I barely even play Roblox. Why would I know about websites like that? You drew yourself a decapitated head and nobody streamed gore in RL besides one time we streamed a person being bombed. All my devices have a 13+ browser lock anyways. I can testify this. You asked us to stream for you, Junie, like, because you had that lock. I never asked. I remember you saying the lock. It was offered, I just didn't say no. I don't blame Dippy for that, though. That's not his fault that I said yes. Everyone makes jokes, pedophilia jokes, and jokes. It was the same thing, we never had that intent. Someone asked him to, I remember this. Nobody objected. Why do we have to blame everyone for something? It was a bad echo chamber for all of us. Yes, nobody, exactly, that's why it was all of us. Why are we arguing over who's more at fault for the thing that we all did? I don't understand. W grooming victim we have here. Conclusively speaking, Dippy is very obviously not a groomer, and this is one of the most audaciously ridiculous allegations on the entire internet. To make such slanderous claims as a shield to cover up your own actions is extremely scummy, especially against someone with no platform to defend themselves. While everyone in this situation was clearly a mass degenerate during these few months, they were all minors and certainly had the capacity to change. That being said, it should be imperative that attention is directed towards more Junie and Yummy than anyone else, as Junie's conduct is indicative of a person who will go to any means necessary to salvage his platform, even if it means levying extremely heinous false allegations. Yummy, on the other hand, was a self-admitted and claimed he got off on the idea of death. I can't really add any other nuance to that. This is a pattern of behavior. Junie and Yummy have peddled and fabricated false allegations in two of the largest situations they have been a part of, and many more on top of that. Neither are a fit for commentary, let alone the internet itself, and that idea was something the general public finally came around to. If you are avid in the animation or art community on Instagram, you've likely seen this animation posted by Gayman. Does the art style seem a little familiar? Well, it should, because this is none other than Yummicactus, and Junie is now Merryberrybow. With both rebranding themselves, their preconceived audience knew it was Junie and Yummy, however, said audience was still supportive. Therefore, when new faces came in, they would know nothing of both artists' pasts. If I'm going to speak honestly for Dippy, it is innumerably frustrating to see two people falsify life-ruining allegations against you and then turn tail and change personas and actually garner a fair amount of success, while threatening legal action against you vaguely, might I add. So what, Yummy's gonna sue Dippy for being falsely accused of grooming? I mean, I guess? Notably, there's been users that have been commenting under Dippy's Twitter interactions, most notably a user by the name of ViolentCats12, also known as ZKyle, or one of Junie's top mods in his new Discord server under the alias Merryberrybow. This ex-girlfriend-esque shitposting isn't that notable, but it's a little concerning that people within Junie's cathedral actually buy some of his bullshit. Speaking of Junie has posted a new video under the alias of Merryberrybow. However, on the same channel as Junidrawz, with all of Junidraw's content still up. I mean, you'd think after how commentary went for you last time, you'd stray very far away, but hey, what do I know? In the previously mentioned Discord, Junie has been speaking about Dippy in a very odd way. It's like someone talking about their ex-girlfriend. I can't exaggerate when I say this. It's not crazy notable, but talking about I'm not winning the I don't give a fuck competition when it comes to your, alleged groomer, you know? Really? And with all the recent happenings that came out from the Junie Cathedral, we've gotten some new screenshots in relation to Dippy, where it's Dippy messaging the censored individual previously mentioned in said video. Some very disturbing things, if I'm going to be totally honest, and when I first saw this, I was pretty disgusted. This is not something that's okay to say about somebody, and a lot of these actions that are similar in this vein, I do not condone whatsoever. Dippy has made a document addressing these things, and with all due respects to him, that's a good thing. That being said, it's not acceptable whatsoever, and this video does not endorse those sorts of actions. Dippy was a freak degenerate when he was talking to Junie and was around Junie. That's the fact of the matter, and I'm willing to make that concession. It's even possible that he's still a degenerate to this day, and I just don't know about it. That being said, there is nowhere near enough evidence to call this guy a groomer. Speaking of freak degenerate, Caster is a harasser and serial stalker of a multitude of different art commentary channels. I won't go over his very extensive past in history, but just know it's not a very good one. Now, like any other controversial figure in the art commentary community, Junidrawz had to weigh his 2 cents, and in this occasion, it's actually in support of this individual, creating art for them with his character. For the final chapter of this modern Yummy and Junie era, we have them calling the work of one of Dippy's friends who took a picture of Junie 5 months ago at his work. This individual previously mentioned has a very rough home situation right now, obviously that I will not be getting into specifics of. However, the money that they are using from this job is to attempt to move out, and both Yummy and Junie knew that before calling in. Although you could make the moral argument for this considering that he took a picture of Junie, it was very, very far away and hardly identifiable whatsoever. Just a very scummy move altogether. But that's in recent memory. Let's rewind to the aftermath of Junie's video. The response to Junie's video was strange in nature. The immediate response from the commenters was to tell Junie to get offline for a bit. It's amazing that the comment section of this video received so much positive reinforcement for such lackluster claims, but I digress. After this video, Junie actually attempted to return to commentary content with his video, "Is this Dandy's World Artist Fat Phobic?" A true YouTube classic. Junie received immense flack from other art commentary channels, most notably AlexCom, who made a two-part commentary video on the flaws in Junie's video regarding DIPPY without the context that even this video contains. In response to the rising tensions, Junie would respond in both his comment section and community tab with some, all things considered, pretty ridiculous claims. Some stuff I wanted to ramble about but couldn't find time in the video, plus updates. Although has been purposefully misconstruing things on his Twitter and has lied to me about this whole thing, especially how he claimed he was being blackmailed but was in fact one of the main people doxing me. I'm seriously worried about him since his closest friend is DIPPY, and they've always been extremely obsessive over each other. I've seen DIPPY directly encourage to be racist, make Nazi jokes, engage in self-harming behavior, interact with gore, and all the same stuff. And the fact that he's taking public front for it while DIPPY is pretty much radio silent is worrying to me. I don't want anyone to be isolated with someone who's comfortable with sharing necrophilia, gore, and overly sexual ideation. DIPPY had always told me and Yummy that we were so mutually destructive that we were perfect for each other, and now they've gone as far as to leak inappropriate DMs regarding my boyfriend and our sex lives. Which is obviously disgusting since not only are we both minors, but a majority of this occurred when I was 15 and he was 16. We were so clearly exhibiting signs that the things weren't okay, but we were only ever encouraged to ignore it, hurt ourselves, and be isolated. I still can't believe that he got away with having my boyfriend draw and send him NSFW of ourselves. I'll never unsee the stuff they had me watch with them, and I'm deeply upset that Brandon has been copy and paste DM spamming people who follow me on various platforms, claiming he is a victim of me. I have never done anything to Brandon. In the time we knew each other, he has sent me extreme gore videos and incest CP art. It was not uncommon for him to send some random gross things to me, which I tried to ignore. He would constantly trigger my schizophrenia and make fun of me for it as a joke, saying things like, "Who's that behind you? Junie, there's someone in your house," or "You're not alone in the room you're in," which would regularly cause me to spiral into paranoia and have breakdowns. I've had to contact the police over my docs and nudes being leaked and spread online, and there's nothing I can do to stop that, which I feel disgusted and miserable over. I love DIPPY so much, and he literally meant everything to me. Even after I've been forced to come with terms with the sexual and emotional exploitation he put me and my boyfriend through, I still miss him and wish we could still talk. I feel disgusted that I miss him so badly after everything he did, but part of me wishes I could spend time with him again. I just feel stupid and gross. During that original prompt game, I was also asked to draw myself as Map Jimbo from the series Necro Jimbo. I'm clearing this up because people are confusing me as a pedo or Map because I drew this when I was 15. I had watched this series with my friend and I found the satirical depiction of Map Jimbo. I thought the character itself was really stupid, and when my friend asked me to draw that as a prompt, I just did and didn't think anything of it because I was 15 and obviously wasn't a map or pedophile. Thank you so much to all my friends who have helped me even when they didn't know something was wrong. You all mean everything to me. Thank you. I love you all more than life itself. I'm so tired of being tagged in videos of people dismantling my grooming scenario and victim blaming me. It's exhausting that I need to keep reliving everything I went through just to make people online happy. People I don't know and have never spoken to in my life making full-length videos to prove I wasn't groomed over just their opinion makes me sick. You've never met me. You don't have any place in my trauma. And most of you all weren't there. You don't know what happened to me because you don't care to do research beyond listening to what my groomer says online, and it's just exhausting. Someone who may be even more ridiculous was on top of the world at this time, however, that being CUPIDITE. Daisy was able to victory lap the dead YouTube corpses of his two main detractors who, possibly by ruining their own reputation and handling his allegations with the care of a brain surgeon with Parkinson's, actually got him off scot-free, making two hit pieces on the disgraced art commentary YouTubers, essentially sealing their fate while writing himself a decree of innocence. Well, this is before he would wipe his channel and is seemingly intending to go offline. DIPPY and women have been vehemently fighting the lies and false narratives spread about them on Twitter. However, in no offensive way, their platforms are simply not big enough to make a wave in the viewership of Juni's video on the matter. While collabing with Daisy certainly helped, it's not like he has a squeaky clean track record either. After speaking to both, it's very clear how severely incorrect the narrative surrounding this situation is. DIPPY is the farthest thing from a groomer, barring being a little too apologetic or sheepish at times when it comes to his friends. I'd argue that isn't the worst quality to have, however. I believe it goes without saying that this case study is an extreme example of why minors shouldn't be heavily involved with commentary spaces in their year of development during puberty. Look who's talking. On a candid note though, this video would not have been possible without the help of both DIPPY and so you should go check them out and send them some support. Juni and Yummy are some of the most gung-ho, heavy-handed, yet delusional and generally irresponsible creators I've ever documented. Although not the most disturbed covered on this channel, this situation resonates with me on a personal level due to these creators' ages, the same as mine. The contrast is indescribable, that this archetype of individual could be walking the same paths that you walk on any given day. Throughout all the pretentious moral preaching, false allegations, and malicious warping of narratives, what remains is a vastly unhealthy couple. Not Juni and Yummy, but Juni and Yummy alongside commentary and the internet as a whole. To say that these two should remain offline is an understatement, yet that advice is rather surface level. Intrinsically, the way that Juni and Yummy operate is flawed, yet not unfixable. I can only hope, for themselves and the sake of those around them, that these two acquire the help they need to function as normal members of society, as whoever they really are, not as Junidrawz, not as Yummicactus, not as Merryberrybow, and not as Vitomin. Their continued efforts to run from their detractors and problems is concerning, and their recent return almost makes me sure that they are going to double down. But I've been salty, and as always, farming the art cows.
Camera, catapult, camera, and we have to have a cool, King Stay.